Commander Varun Keth moved down the alloy corridor like a storm given shape, scales bristling, claws clacking against a grated floor. Lights hummed overhead. Junior officers melted into bulkheads to avoid his path. Varun had stared down pirate warlords, brokered truces with Xenofederations, and walked away from 3 separate attempts on his life. Nothing in his long service record, however, readied him for this. The High Matriarch's brood had vanished. Not ordinary offspring, but the brood of Matriarch Vela, the heirs of a proud line. Their disappearance could ignite a diplomatic firestorm large enough to make the old Titan skirmishes look like a neighborhood quarrel. Every species aboard Outpost Sigma 9 was a potential suspect. Varun had roughly 6 hours before the Krythan fleet arrived demanding an account. He had answers to give, but none that fit together. Security arrays had recorded a clean corridor. Sensor logs showed no hull breaches. The nursery's atmosphere monitors registered a sudden, inexplicable drop in temperature, and then silence. The footage at the exact moment the brood went missing was corrupted, the way electromagnetic storms corrupted thoughtless memories. Varun's communicator rasped against his breastplate. "Sir, all interviews complete." Every crew member logged an alibi except. The voice hesitated, then finished. Mira Kellen. She was alone in Sector 7 Blue. Varun's inner eyelids, an old Krythan tick for annoyance, flickered. Humans had been members of the Coalition for only 20 years. In that time, they'd earned a reputation for earnestness, improvisation, and an unnerving affection for things they considered cute. Dangerous, sacred, sentient. It rarely mattered. "Bring her to the observation ring," Varun ordered.
"Now."
Mira arrived 15 minutes later, an island of calm in an ocean of scales. She wore an oversized patch flight jacket instead of the station gray standard issue, her hands buried in the pocket as though cradling something fragile. She moved with a careful, protective gait. Varun filled the silence. His voice was low and sand-grinding. "Mira Kellen, I will ask you one question. I require an honest reply." "Go ahead," she said. Her tone was steady, even in front of a 2.5-meter predatory Krythan commander. Varun stepped closer, pupils narrowing to slits. "Who took Vela's brood?" For a heartbeat, she said nothing. Then something stirred beneath her jacket. A furry paw slipped out near her collarbone, followed by another, and then another. A cluster of tiny faces pushed free of the shadowed fabric. 3, each ringed with down and eyes like polished opal. Varun's threat display stopped mid-flare. The hatch in his chest made the curious naval sound Krythans used when they were unsure whether to roar or fold. The little creatures blinked up at him with unself-conscious trust. One yawned, exposing a row of needle-fine teeth, then burrowed closer to Myra's throat. "I can explain," Mira said quickly, almost apologetic. "I didn't take them." Varun's maw worked. He did not speak. "I was walking past the nursery," Mira continued. The door was jammed half open and the atmosphere had fallen. The temp sensors were plummeting. "I reported it, but maintenance said the earliest they could get someone was 2 hours. The brood, they were tiny. They were getting hypothermic." She tilted her head, watching one cub nestle against her neck. Her hands tightened around them, warmth bleeding through fabric. "Human core temp runs around 37 Celsius, she said. "I warmed them. I meant to go to med after, but then the alarm started. I thought moving them while the station was in lockdown would risk more harm. I stayed put so they could sleep." Varun thumbed his datapad. The maintenance log pulsed, undeniable, an environmental failure in Nursery Bay reported by Mira Kellen at the precise time of the disappearance. Repair ticket opened and finally cleared 47 minutes ago. "You didn't take them to sickbay?" Varun asked, incredulous. "I tried," she admitted. "They woke up every time I moved. They calmed down in my jacket. They stopped shivering. I wanted them warm when med arrived, but then the alarms and the dignitaries, and I panicked a bit. I'm sorry." One of the brood slipped fully from the jacket and clambered up to perch on Myra's shoulder with surprising agility. It peered directly at Varun and made a high, trilling note, the sound Krythans used for greetings in young ones. Something inside Varun, a tendon of old duty and older compassion, loosened. The trilling vibrated against his chest. For the first time since boarding, the commander could hear a faint, contented hum coming from the tiny animals, a low thrumming that translated, in any language, to safety. Varun felt the edges of his anger blur. Protocol mattered. So did outcome. Krythan's prized intent but rewarded action. What one did in a crisis carried more weight than neat reports and sterile policy. He rose taller, then allowed the scales along his jaw to pale. Krythan for the equivalent of a reluctant smile. You chose to protect them, he said finally. Not the procedure, not the rules. You did what you thought would keep them alive. Myra's shoulders slumped. I know what this looks like, Commander. The matriarch is en route. I caused a station lockdown. Ambassadors have filed complaints. And you'll have a reprimand, Varun said. Formal paperwork. A debrief with Krythan security. That must be done. Myra's eyes filled slightly. I understand. The brood chirped in unison, small bodies, a bundle of warmth and trust. Varun watched Mira stroke one of their soft heads with a gentleness that made his chest ache in a way that had nothing to do with chemical reaction. He pictured presenting this to Matriarch Vela, not as a theft, but as a rescue made under duress, a human who'd chosen the life of a helpless thing over the comfort of protocol. You will go to the Matriarch with me, Varun said. You will tell the truth as it happened, that you discovered an environmental failure, that you used your body to warm the brood, and that you kept them safe until systems were restored. That will carry weight. Mira blinked, hope and dread braided together. You think that will be enough? Varun watched a cub nuzzle his forearm, tiny claws feathering across his armored sleeve. His lips, if Krythan mandibles could be called lips, twitched into something almost like laughter, deep, rumbling, and unexpectedly human in its warmth. Enough to save lives, he corrected. Whether it will save our dignity, that depends on the matriarch's temper. Either way, the brood is alive. Sometimes that's the only verdict that truly matters. He turned away to begin the paperwork, the squawk of comms already building into orders. Behind him, Mira murmured to the nesting creatures, her voice soft. Varun let the sound hang in the observation ring, the patter of small feet, the whisper of human kindness, and the slow, inconvenient thaw of a commander's heart.